This is Optimal Living Daily, episode 1962, How to Set Your Top Priorities in Life, Part 2, by Julianna Poplin of thesimplicity.habit.com, and I'm Justin Malik. Happy Sunday and welcome back, or welcome for the first time if you're new here. This is where I read to you like a big ongoing audiobook from many different authors, but today being a continuation from yesterday, so I'd recommend listening to yesterday's episode first. If you're all caught up, let's get right to part 2 and continue optimizing your life. How to Set Your Top Priorities in Life, Part 2, by Julianna Poplin of thesimplicity.habit.com. How to list your top priorities in your daily life. If you haven't truly sat down and thought about your priorities, I encourage you to do it now. Listing your top priorities in your daily life is a great exercise that can bring you lots of clarity and help ensure you're focused on the right priorities. Number 1, take time to reflect and be honest with yourself. To start, you've got to accept the fact that you need to be honest with yourself, even if you don't necessarily love the truth. If you have been spending your time poorly and prioritizing actions that do not reflect your values, goals, and ambitions, you need to acknowledge that and commit to a change. Number 2, work out what is important to you and how you want to live your life. Once you've identified the things that are clearly not working for you, it's a good idea to reflect on the things that you do want. What do you want your life to look like? If you could spend your time doing anything, what would that be? What activities make you happy, bring you joy, and propel you in the direction of your goals and dreams? Once you've identified your values, your passions, and your desires, you can begin to move forward. Number 3, map out a plan of action. Without a plan, it's too easy to lose focus, get lost, and find yourself spending time on things that don't necessarily align with your priorities. Identify the changes you need to make in life so that your actions reflect your priorities, and then figure out how to fit those things into your day. By writing it all down, you force yourself to evaluate the big picture and be thoughtful about how you can realistically work things into your day. Number 4, list and determine your daily, weekly, and monthly priorities. It's also a good idea to consider your priorities and goals in daily, weekly, and monthly timeframes. Some things like paying your bills can be considered monthly priorities. You only have to worry about them once a month, but they're important enough to warrant special attention. Other things are weekly priorities. Your weekly priorities may include things like getting enough exercise, making sure your family has a healthy breakfast to start each morning, or finding time to call your mother. You should also identify daily priorities to keep you focused and on track. The Simply Scheduled workbook was created to help you prioritize and plan your days. Number 5, eliminate distractions. Once you've identified the things that you should focus your energy on, it's time to get those pesky distractions out of the way. It can be all too easy to be tempted by something new or appealing or exciting. By finding ways to eliminate those challenges, you can make it easier to stay focused on your priorities. When you stay focused, you increase the odds that you'll achieve your goals. And number 6, set specific times for specific tasks and stay focused. It can be helpful to use a planner or a scheduling tool to block time to really focus on your priorities. If passing a big exam is a priority, you'll want to set aside sufficient time to study. And if training for a 5K is a priority, you'll need to block some time to run. What should your first priority be? What is your top priority? It sounds like a simple question, but it can be harder than you think to come up with the answer. If you aren't sure what your priorities are, setting your priorities should be your top priority. Sit down, reflect, and figure out what your priorities are. Then narrow it down to the single most important priority you've got. It won't be easy, but it'll be eye-opening and give you the focus you need. Find a mentor or life coach to keep your priorities on track if you need one. Holding yourself accountable and staying focused on the actions that will help you reach your dreams is easier said than done. It can be really hard to keep your priorities on track, especially when you're faced with lots of temptation. A life coach or a mentor can be a tremendous resource in your quest to self-fulfillment and making sure you're focused on the right priorities. Getting someone else's perspective and guidance can be hugely helpful, and the added commitment of paying for a life coach can sometimes be the extra encouragement you need to stick to your plan and stay focused. If that's not an option for you, look for a trusted friend who could be an accountability partner for you. Be flexible. Your top priorities in life will change. Just because something is your top priority today doesn't mean it's going to be that way forever. As life goes on, we change and grow. Our priorities evolve. The things that mattered most to us when we were 10 were far different than the things that mattered to us when we turned 20. As you gain new experience and perspective, it's totally okay to shift your priorities. Check in with yourself and your list of priorities in life periodically. Because things change, it's a good idea to regularly revisit your list of priorities. Similar to how you revisit your goals, check to make sure you're staying focused on the right things. Ask yourself periodically if the things you identified as priorities still resonate. Are those still the most important things in your life? Are you being pulled in a different direction? And if you are, explore that. Is it a whim, an urge, something that'll go away? Or is it possibly time for a change? Learning how to set your priorities in life is not a one and done process. It's the beginning of a journey that requires reassessing over time. How to set your priorities in life and keep them. Now that you've learned how to set your priorities in life and align them with your goals, I challenge you to write them down to help you keep your top priorities straight. Whether you have a good idea of what those priorities might be or you're starting from scratch, have fun exploring the things that mean the most to you and identifying those priorities. Keep your priorities top of mind and remind yourself of them often as you make decisions and decide how to spend your time. You just listened to part 2 of the post titled, How to Set Your Top Priorities in Life by Julianna Poplin of thesimplicityhabit.com. Great stuff in this post from Julianna. I'm a big fan of writing things down, so much so that we created a workbook with different prompts that correspond with specific episodes of this podcast. You can find that at oldpodcast.com/shop. But all of these tips are worth trying out, just not all at once, otherwise they probably won't stick. Our bodies and minds don't like change. That's something we really have to fight for, so trying to change a bunch of things at once is almost always a recipe for no change. So as we always say across pretty much all of our podcasts, when it comes to lists like these, pick the one that stuck with you the most and try that first, see how it goes, and then let me know how it goes. It's always nice to hear from you. So have a great rest of your weekend if you're listening in real time, and I'll see you tomorrow for Minimalist Monday, where your optimal life awaits.